All right, good morning, everyone. This is a fun time, and since we have a window, because your class is until 10:50, I wanted to get us started. For those of you who don't know me, and I feel like I know a lot of you in the room, which is awesome, my name's Carl Sisson, and I have the privilege of serving as the VP for Advancement and External Engagement. Mouthful. But long story short, it gives me opportunities to connect with alumni and friends like the MacKenzies. And this summer, when President Lewis and I had a chance to spend some significant time with them, who's been to Camp the Woods? Anyone? That's it, Camp the Woods? Great summer work opportunities, okay, so take advantage of that. They hosted us for an event with alumni and friends up there. And as I heard more, not just about the work they do, but about the ministry that the MacKenzies have in their hearts, I said, we need to get you to campus. We need to put you in front of our students, give you an opportunity to share some of your heart and some of your stories. So Scott's is going to lead primarily, and we want this to be interactive. We're going to leave plenty of time for questions and answers. You're going to learn more about the ministry that they have through their company, Hampton Square Wealth Management out of New Jersey. Without further ado, let me welcome, so this is Janet Weber, class of 1978 MacKenzie, and her husband, Scott MacKenzie. So, welcome. It is. Is it on?
Is this on? Okay. Good morning. I know you're all excited to be here, so let me share with you a little bit about who we are and what we do. I wanted to share this morning a little bit about a unique perspective on the profession that I'm in, financial advice that goes well beyond numbers and portfolios, because that's what most people think about a financial advisor. First, let me give you a little background. This is my second career. My first career was in the ladies' fashion industry in Manhattan. I ended that career as president of about a $80 million ladies' lingerie company. You won't forget me now, right? Okay, thanks. I ended that career in about 2004, but in that career, I had a dream job. I traveled all over the world. I went to Paris and went to China, and everybody thought it was a great job, made a lot of money.
I might need to just turn on the
Okay, does that work better? There you go, my voice carries anyway. Why am I telling you about the first career? Very simply because when the job no longer existed, the company got bought out. Nobody had ever taught me how to handle money, and I lost everything. When I mean everything, I mean sheriff at the door, cars repossessed, mama loading up the truck, moving the kids back to Oklahoma where she was from. I lost everything. Now, why would a financial advisor stand in front of you and tell you about losing money, right? Because God had a different plan in my life. I had a couple of friends from Bible study that came around me, and they encouraged me to get my head straight, let's put it that way. And they pointed out that I had a huge contact list. I'd make presentations to presidents of Walmart and JCPenney. I can talk to anybody. And I'm pretty good with numbers. And oh, by the way, I love people. They said, do this, be a financial advisor. Now, strange, financial advisor, I didn't know how to handle money, right? But God may have a different plan for my life. I've now got a passion to serve people over and over again and help them understand that if they've screwed up financially, God still has a better plan for them. God is the Redeemer. God brought me Jan and 4 adult children I hadn't planned on, by the way. God surrounded me with wise counsel, and now I serve over 300 households and hundreds of millions of dollars in my care that I could have never predicted. In short, God made my calling clear. And here I am today, a very successful, growing, Christian-based financial firm. All God. So with this passion to share, I'm really so grateful to be here with you today, to be able to do so. you need to know that I'm uniquely qualified for what I do for a living, because my clients will never be financially someplace I haven't been. I've been at the top, made hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, had the McMansions stupidly, all right, and I lost it all. And yet God helped me to build it back, and for a reason. So what's today's message? I'd like to share about how Christian financial advisors really serve as missionaries in environments where traditional ministry and missionaries might never reach. In fact, most Christian financial advisors, we'll call them kingdom advisors, have a more intimate knowledge of what's important to the people we reach than do their pastors, their relatives, their best friends. You see, most people don't talk about their personal money issues in society. We're too fearful. We have a lot of pride. We're sometimes just stubbornly reclusive. Most people don't share this with just anyone, but they share it with us over and over again. My mission field is the marketplace. The great evangelist Billy Graham, who passed away a couple years ago, said that the next great revival wouldn't be in stadiums or in churches, but in the marketplace, one person at a time. Our calling as financial planners and advisors puts us in direct contact with people from all walks of life. Many of your clients might never step foot in a church, attend a Bible study, or engage with Christian community in any traditional sense. Yet they'll spend hours with you discussing their deepest hopes, fears, and values as they relate to money, but also their family, their jobs, who they aspire to be, sometimes how they want to finish the rest of their life. So I got to tell you, I've known a lot of pastors and missionaries, and they only wish that they could get the attention of people like this. We're not like an accountant or an attorney. Those who have transactional businesses, you get your taxes done, they send you a bill, see you next year. We do life with our clients on a daily basis. We see them several times a year. We hold hands during tough times. We celebrate during the great times. In short, over and over again, we're part of their lives. Less than half of our clients are Christians. Did I mention I'm from New Jersey? Less than half of my clients are Christians. It's a mission field. We have Hindus, we have Jews, we have agnostics, we have skeptics. We've got people that just couldn't give a rip about this stuff. And yet we get to speak into their lives. God placed them in our care. We're fiduciaries. Fiduciary means always act in the client's best interest. Doesn't that include their spiritual welfare as well? So as scripture tells us in Matthew 5, you're the light of the world. You know this, right? City set on the hill can't be hidden. Let your light shine. So quite frankly, the financial world often operates under exactly contradictory values to that. Contradictory to what we know as kingdom principles. In this environment, your integrity, your compassion, your wisdom can stand as a profound witness. We guide people beyond transactions to transformation. Now make no mistake, there's a big difference between being an advisor that happens to warm the pew on a Sunday morning and happens to be a Christian, and a Christian financial advisor, a kingdom advisor. What separates a Christian financial advisor from others isn't just adding a prayer to a client meeting, which we often do. It's approaching the entire profession as a ministry. It's sharing biblical financial principles in a way that can change lives. It's sharing, did you know that there are over 2,000 verses in the Bible about stewardship and finances? More than any other subject. Jesus talked about it more than any other subject. Shouldn't we kind of take that as a hint that we need to pay attention in our own lives? Proverbs 11:14 reminds us, where there's no guidance, people falls. But in an abundance of counselors, there's safety. That's what we are for our clients. We're a safety. When clients face financial decisions. You can model patience. When clients face difficult financial situations that they struggle with, you have the opportunity to demonstrate grace. When they achieve goals, you can exemplify gratitude to God rather than self-gratification. We're often one of those first phone calls after a major event, whether a tragedy, a job loss, or the birth of a new child. When you think about it, all those things are intertwined with people's finances. We've attended countless funerals and weddings because we do life with our clients. We've counseled non-believing newlyweds to see marriage differently. We've grieved with the man who just lost his wife and the widow whose only son wrapped his car around a tree. Tree around a car would be harder. But whether grieving with those who grieve or celebrating, which we do a lot of, with people who celebrate, we're given many opportunities to bear witness for Christ. But Scott, I just thought you managed money for people. It's what you're supposed to do, right? Yeah, we manage money for people, and a lot of it. But that too becomes a place to witness. We talk about ownership as a responsibility. Think about it, your local deli or restaurant. If the floor is dirty, whose job is it? Whose responsibility is it? It's the owner, ultimately, right? So if that's the case, when you own stock in the company, you're an owner. Don't you have a responsibility to what that company does with your money? If you believe the Bible and it clearly says that all things are God's, then it's God's money for you to steward. So it's a simple question here. If it's all God's money, what are you doing with God's money? And that's how we look at investing. How much, we challenge our clients. How much do you want to give back? What companies are you willing to own? What companies do you want to eliminate? Do you have values? Do you have values that you hold so deeply? Now think about this. Do you have values? Do you? Come on. Yes?
Yeah.
Am I in a room full of people that don't have values? Okay. So do you have values that you hold so deeply that you wouldn't want to violate those values simply to make a profit? Ownership is a responsibility, and that's what we teach. Colossians 3:23 instructs us, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you'll receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. This scripture revolutionizes how we think about investing. So think about it. As an advisor, if you were an advisor in this room today, you can have integrity in all recommendations, never putting your own income in the mix. You can see investing as responsible ownership. You help clients align their investments with their values. What's important to them? Encouraging generosity. We have many clients that we work with on generosity. What are you doing for kingdom work today, during your lifetime? Mrs. Smith, with your bucket of money you're going to leave behind, what could you be doing for kingdom work today? This is the role of a kingdom advisor. And then we also discuss the spiritual implications of financial decisions. Let's talk about the ministry of financial peace. Many people experience tremendous anxiety about money. Scripture addresses this. You know this scripture, therefore I tell you, don't be anxious about your life. God takes care of the birds and the lilies, and aren't you more important? You know this. As Christian financial advisors, kingdom advisors, you have the unique opportunity to minister peace in an area where many people experience significant stress. You can demonstrate what it looks like to trust God with finances while still practicing wise stewardship. I can tell you this, we've got clients that come into our conference room and all they have is $10,000. And for a financial advisor, that's pretty small. We've got clients that come into our conference room and they have $10 million. That's pretty big for anybody, right? They all have the same question. Isn't this strange? Whether you have little or you have a lot, same question. Am I gonna be okay? That's all they wanna know. Are they gonna be okay? As Christian financial advisors, we get to speak into these people's lives. We often reach the unreached. Jesus gave us the Great Commission, you know this, in Matthew 28. And for us, the financial marketplace is our mission field. As a financial advisor, your clients may include successful professionals who find their identity, their whole identity, in wealth accumulation. We've got some clients like that. Families struggling with debt who feel shame and isolation. Elderly clients facing end-of-life financial decisions without a spiritual foundation. Young professionals making their first investments without moral guidance. Each represents an opportunity to demonstrate Christ's love through excellent service, wise counsel, and genuine care. And I gotta tell you, I wanna live as a witness. 1 Peter 3 tells us to always be prepared to give an answer. Your professional excellence will open doors for these conversations. When clients ask you why you operate differently, why you're more transparent, why you're more focused on the long-term health and well-being of a client than our own pocketbook, you have the opportunity to share your faith naturally and authentically. Of course, this means vulnerability. You've got to be able to share in a vulnerable way your failures and how God redeemed those choices to create a new thing in you. Jan and I are evidence that God really can do a new thing. So another time, I'd be glad to tell you that story. It's a little too tearful for me most of the time. But we're reminded in 1 Timothy, as for the rich in the present age, charge them not to be haughty, nor to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. They are to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share, thus storing up treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the future. Your work as Christian financial advisors, as kingdom advisors, can have eternal implications. We work with people to do strategies for multi-generational passing of wealth and kingdom impact. You've all probably heard of a place called the Museum of the Bible, all right? That was started and funded by the Green family from Hobby Lobby, right? They worked with kingdom advisors to help them get to where they are today. There's lots and lots of company stories that I can tell you this, just effects for internal implications. So as you look at what I'm talking about today, the basic question is this: if God owns it all, what are you doing with God's money? If you have values, do you have values that you hold so dear that you wouldn't want to violate those values simply to make a profit? If you can communicate those ideas as you consider your future careers, I encourage you to see financial advising as more than a profession. For me, it's a calling, a mission field where your technical expertise becomes a vehicle for kingdom impact. Remember the words of Paul in 2 Corinthians, therefore, we are ambassadors for Christ, God making his appeal through us. In the financial marketplace, you may be the only ambassador for Christ that some people ever encounter. Your integrity, compassion, wisdom may be the only Bible that some people ever read. Approach it with the calling with reverence, excellence, joy, knowing that through faithful service in the financial realm, you're advancing God's kingdom in places traditional ministry and missionaries probably will never reach. Thank you.
Open it up to questions.
I'm good with questions. Come on. Sir, what's your name?
Daniel.
Daniel, where are you from?
I'm from Puerto Rico.
Ah, I heard about Daniel.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I'm also very interested in the financial planning field, and I just wanted to ask you. You mentioned that this is your second career, so you had connections before you got into this career. What would you say to someone who maybe doesn't have those connections trying to enter this?
The business model has changed in our industry drastically in the last decade. It used to be when you wanted to join into a firm, you join into like a major insurance company and they'd hand you a phone book and say, dial for dollars, okay? So you were a hunter, okay? Today, there are so many baby boomers, guys like me, right, that don't know how to profitably exit the business, that there are firms like mine, we're putting those together. So we already have a large book of business, and if we're exiting the old guys, right, what do we need? We need young people to help service, right? And so the business model has changed. You don't need to be such a hunter, though being a hunter is a good thing if you're a good networker or whatever. It is always helpful. But you don't need to be the same kind of hunter that you needed to be a decade ago. You can be a farmer, and a good farmer can really take care of the crops, and that's what makes money, right? Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Next. Yes, ma'am.
What kind of certifications do you need to become a financial planner, and does your business like sponsor those for new coming workers, I guess?
Sure. The most common designation in this industry that colleges like this are helping you to pursue is a certified financial planner. I am not a certified financial planner. People ask me if I've got a CFP. I said, yes, I've got 2 of them. I hired them. Okay? So my role is a little different because to become a CFP, you have to have a bachelor's degree, which is something I never attained. Okay? But I've hired and fired people with lots of them. All right? And what I can tell you is the CFP is a great program. It's the basics of how to work as a financial planner. The licenses, if you go to work for a firm like ours, you would get your life and health insurance licenses because that's part of financial planning. It's also the easiest to get. And you get that in your resident state. And then getting a Series 6 or 7 is a registration with the regulatory agency that allows you to do a commission-based business. And then the Series 65 or 66 allows you to do what 90% of our business is, which is fee-based business. All right, we still retain some of the other registrations so that we can do whatever's in the best interest of the client. The second question was, do we sponsor things like that? Yes, we do, and there's a national organization called Kingdom Advisors. It has a conference in Orlando in February. If you are interested in this, I was meeting with some of your leaders here at the school this morning. I'm encouraging, talk about it. Go to that conference. There were over 200 students, I think, there this past time. There's about 2,800 total people. Christian financial advice. It's a very big thing, and it's growing like crazy. Here's the opportunity for you as young people. Less than 1% of Christians invest from this perspective. Look at that opportunity. You got a 99% opportunity with people. 86% of people that are challenged in this way as clients will change advisors over this issue. They want values alignment. And most financial advisors don't even know it exists. And it does, and it's growing like crazy. So Kingdom Advisors is something you should look into as well.
Mention your job fair there.
Oh yeah, there's a big job fair there. We did speed dating with about 100 kids. So yeah. But we also, our firm does sponsor internships. Our firm also will sponsor. Right now I've got a young man that's going through a 2.5-year program we just hired to get his CFP and all his registrations. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. A little long-winded for it, but it's okay. Yes, ma'am.
How do you go about
This
discussing the
personality.
topic? How do you go about discussing the topic of like tithing?
We discussed the topic of generosity.
Okay.
Okay, because tithing for us is the basic, right? If you've got somebody of means that can tithe and has excess, we'll talk about things like, what are you doing with your required minimum distributions when you're 73? You gotta take money out of your IRA account. What are you doing with it? We'll talk about what generosity looks like, and we help the clients keep track of generosity so that tithing becomes a very minor thing, all right? Now, we also work with clients that aren't able to tithe, and they need coaching along the way. We've seen people come to us with huge mortgage, credit card debt, and in 10 years, they own their home outright. One of them just moved to Phoenix. We see that. But we work with people on their generosity depending where their heart is. Ron Blue has a great quote, is, show me your checkbook, I'll show you your heart. All right, and we talk to clients like that. Answered?
Yep, thank
Yes?
You said that 90% of your business is fee-based,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that the company just collects the fees, it doesn't go to the
So,
individual advisor?
I'm sure you have a few $100,000 you can invest with Hampton Square. Come on in. All right, when you do, we're gonna open a Charles Schwab account. And how it works is that we're gonna take 1 or 1.25% out of that account every year. So that's the fee. Now what that does, it puts us on the same side of the table. I'm not trying to sell you anything. All right, I'm completely agnostic when it comes to different companies paying me differently because you're paying me, okay? So that's a fee-based model. The old model of the old stockbroker was every time I talked to you, I probably did a transaction and I got a commission for that.
Right.
So I probably talked to you a little bit more often because I like collecting commissions. But when it comes to the fee-based business, this is the business model that the industry has gone to over the last decade. And as I said, is 90% of our business.
Talk about portfolio managers, what you do with that money.
Here, go ahead, you had a follow-up question.
Yeah, so with that, if like the money or the income is going to the company, does the company with portions of that revenue give back to charities or churches or Christian organizations?
Our company?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go to our website and see a whole list. Houghton College is on it, by the way. So, Houghton University, excuse me. Sorry, Carl. Sorry. When my wife graduated here, it wasn't university. But yeah, we hold ourselves to actually a higher standard than what we talk to our clients about in generosity. And we give back. It's fun, to be honest with you. It's fun to be at a place in life where you're making a decent living and you can do things that are a little extra, including driving 4.5 hours to get out in the middle of nowhere to talk to you. Jan asked me to talk a little bit about how we manage money. I learned a long time ago that I was pretty good at picking mutual funds and staying up till 2 a.m. to see what Lizzie Glutz's portfolio ought to look like. But it's not the highest and best use for me. And as a business owner, we look at highest and best use. So highest and best use is, we've got money managers. There's a guy named Bob Dahl. If you ever get to hear him speak, he's awesome. He used to be the head money manager for BlackRock, the largest management company on the planet. We hate them. But BlackRock actually terminated Bob because he wouldn't stop teaching Sunday school and telling people about it. All right. So now he manages some of our money for a company called Crossmark, and he's thrilled at about 68 years old. He finally was able to invest from a values-based perspective. Great guy. But we have guys like that have beat the S&P 500 35 out of 37 years. I ask my clients, would you rather have me picking stocks or that guy? I'm thinking that guy. So, yes, ma'am.
It's a pretty general question, but if you had to give one advice more, either about life or work to your younger self, what would it be?
Get my head out of my butt. I would say you know, we all have a tendency to be headstrong, especially when you're a kind of type A kind of personality. And we don't pay enough attention to God's voice. And honestly, that's the best advice I can give, because so often in life, I've had a plan and God laughed. And I had a plan and God laughed. And every single time He's found a way, no matter how I've screwed up life, and it has been, there are stories that would scare you. Every single time God's worked through it by just coming back to Him and asking His advice, and having an outstanding spouse. That's the other part. So, that answer you? Okay. Yes, sir.
So what advice do you give to people who are struggling to keep their money?
Struggling to do what?
Keep their money.
To keep your money?
Yeah.
Like manage it.
Like to manage it.
To manage it.
Yeah.
At your age, you tie into things like Dave Ramsey. All right? Dave Ramsey has great programs about how to manage money, how to do it on a daily basis, how to develop good habits. I used to be a Dave Ramsey advisor. I found out that the guy making money on Dave Ramsey is Dave Ramsey. But I got to tell you, he's got some great lessons online to actually manage money on a daily basis. If you're talking about you want to manage money as investing yourselves, get good counsel. Because you want to get 2 or 3 different people. You don't want to get the guy that you met on the golf course that does crypto. Okay? Yes, sir.
So you mentioned that after your first career, you lost a lot of money. With the knowledge that
I lost everything.
Okay, everything. So like with the knowledge that you have now, what are some things you would have done differently if you were in that situation again?
So my history is that as I was an executive in a big company, I would have probably prepared better and just saved money better. I was a sales guy, right? I was good at sales. So every year, if there wasn't enough money for expenses, I could go sell something more, right? Until you can't. So you've got to be a Joseph in here and prepare for the years of the lean, okay? And I would have done that better. It probably would have saved my first marriage, right? Because she loaded up the truck and she said, "You left me with nothing." Turns out she left me when I had nothing, but that's another story. God had a different plan and put it together to where He's worked through it, and I'm able to come and share my story with folks like you. But I would have handled money better, which is why I have a passion to do this right now, to share with people that there is a way. There's a biblical way. You look at the history of the Jewish people all over the world, as persecuted as they have been in history. They always have money because they follow biblical principles. All right? You got to think about that. I was in a Jewish business in the clothing business, right? And there are principles that work. That's what we share. Yes, ma'am, again.
I wanted to ask Janet, what was your background here at like Houghton? What did you major in and stuff like that?
I had a double major in business administration and writing, which was very general at the time. And then I went on, I worked for a big company that they had an MBA program and they paid for it. And I was like, well, why not, you know? So I got an MBA in management. But that's so non-specific that I didn't have specific skills. That's why I really think this is terrific, especially for women, because there's not very many women in it. It provides you a very specific career path. And you can always change, and then when I was in my 40s, I became a high school teacher. So all that education did help, because then it only took me a year to become a high school teacher, and I, it was great, I loved it. Mm-hmm. But if I could go back, I think I would do things a little bit differently. Okay. But I was just thrilled to graduate from college, and my parents were thrilled that I went to college, because they never had that opportunity. Yeah. But I think in today's day, the more specific skills you can get or experience, that teaches you a lot. The better off you will be And what I love about this career is that it's flexible. It can grow, it can shrink a little bit when you say you want to have kids or whatever. I have 4 kids and I stopped working completely. This is the sort of thing you could continue part-time during that time and then go back to it. So that's what I love about it. But that was kind of my background. Yeah, it was like lots of education, but nothing specific.
Okay.
And I'm the one that stands up in front of you on these kind of events. Jan works in the business full-time with us, all right? She runs our marketing department and keeps things from falling off my desk, to be honest with you. What she said about women in this business, there is a big shortage. And as women get older and they become widows in our society, they love speaking to a woman financial advisor. And there's not enough of them. There isn't. Now we need young people, and especially Christian young people, in the financial advising business. We really, really need it, and there are lots and lots of jobs across the country, all right? But we really need women even more, right? I'm standing up here and telling you in front of my wife I need women. All right, yes?
So you guys are located in New Jersey. Do you have
Yes.
other locations?
We just, we have a location that's affiliating with us in Allentown, Pennsylvania. We have one that's gonna affiliate with us at the end of June in Hagerstown, Maryland. And we're talking to a guy up in Lake George, New York. But the real question, the answer to your real question here is, we are connected nationally with Kingdom Advisors. I'm very active in the national leadership of Kingdom Advisors. Not that I'm on the leadership board, but I'm very active with them. And we have connections all over the country, literally. You say Southern California, I got a guy. You say Orlando, I got a guy. You say Syracuse, there's a guy, all right? The guy that leads the Kingdom Advisors for all of Merrill Lynch is based in, I think, Rochester or Syracuse. If this is something that you would like to pursue, our cards are here. We're happy to help out. We're happy to connect. We have connections all over the country. Where are you from?
I'm from Pennsylvania, but I'm planning to stay up here.
Okay, well, see, there you go. I don't know how the population is in Houghton for a financial advisor, but, okay, knock yourself out.
Not right.
Who's that? What was next?
There's 2 questions over there.
Okay, sorry.
So you brought up like the Dave Ramsey financial piece, and I was blessed enough to go through one of the classes and stuff and go through the entire series.
Mhm.
And as a guy who wants to start his own business after school and stuff, how would you balance those like principles and stuff that he talks about your financial piece, your savings and saving for all that stuff, while still taking that money and stuff and investing, you know, kind of in your future, in your business, and being able to go forward with that?
The key with Dave Ramsey is how to get out of debt, how to develop habits to stay out of debt. That's the basic for Dave Ramsey. His investment advice, he's not an investment advisor. I've met the guy, we've had conversations. He's, that's not his role. For what he teaches in the basics, it's how to get out of debt, how to develop good habits of handling your money going forward. For opening a business, that's a different equation altogether. You gotta have a business plan, you gotta have funding. The biggest failure for businesses is that they're underfunded. Trust me, I've been there. So I would say that you need to just be wise about how you handle your money and then put together a sound business plan along the way. Some of it might be your money that you use depending on the business. Some of it might be what we call opium, other people's money. So, you know, you can do it both ways. Again, we have a business card. I'm happy to be a sounding board. All right, I can't do it full time. My wife would kill me. All right, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. So I'll be entering the advisory field in a few months, and I'm between a few offers.
Define that.
Like,
When you said you're entering the advisory field in a few months, define that. What do you mean?
like the financial advisory field within the next 6 months.
Okay, you're getting a job as one.
Yes.
Okay, good. What firm?
Between a few different offers right
Okay,
now. I'm just looking for what characteristics in those firms should I be looking for to allow myself to be that Christian advisor to people.
So you have the opportunity to bloom where you're planted. right? No matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you stubbed your toe, you fall into a ditch, you can bloom where you're planted. In my opinion, there's so much opportunity in the Christian financial advice business. I would get on the kingdomadvisors.com and look for a certified Kingdom advisor. If you look in northwestern New Jersey, you'll find me and several other people that work with me. And those are people that are gonna have that training for a biblical base of how to deal with a client. Doesn't mean there can't be Christians in your local Morgan Stanley office, right? And the bigger firms will have great training, but they're gonna train you towards a secular point of view. Don't ever talk about politics or religion, all right? And that's why I left Merrill Lynch, all right? So again, if you're a person that needs that structured training for 2 or 3 years, the big firms can be great for that. But a more localized, smaller firm, especially a certified Kingdom advisor coming out of a school like this, could stand you in good stead for a very long time, even if you make a connection and it's in another part of the country that you didn't plan on. You might want to consider it anyway, just for a little while, all right? That helpful?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you encourage people to put their money where their values are.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite investment that aligns with your values? May or may not be the highest return, but that aligns with the values you hold.
Well, first of all, as a financial advisor, I can't give advice like that, all right? But second of all, I can't give it to a specific security, all right? Let's put it that way. But there are Christian-based mutual funds, exchange-traded funds. There's a company called Eventide, based out of Boston. Eventide is a phenomenal company. The guy that started that, how much time we got, Carl?
You're good, you got about 5 minutes.
So the guy that started Eventide is a guy named Finney Caravella of Indian descent, grew up in California. He's the child every parent wants, right? Because at 16, they finally let him go to an Ivy League school, all right? Yeah. At 19, he calls his mom and he says, hey mom, I'm a little bored at Harvard Medical School here at 19. Okay, he'd been through college, right? So Harvard Medical, can I take a simultaneous degree at MIT? It's right up the road in statistical analysis. I want to get a master's in that. And he did. So he started Eventide. He was a doctor, an MD, and a venture capitalist found him, and he's a solid faith-based guy. And they said, we want you to help us to vet all of these high-tech, biotech companies and startups. We don't know how to do that. And he did. Really bright guy, right? But he said, I'm only going to do it from a faith-based perspective. So I won't do it in any of these companies that have anything to do with abortion. We'll start there, right? So Eventide, when I met Finney and his team, it was 2011, they had a $25 million mutual fund. And in the grand scheme of mutual funds, that's pretty small. It wasn't big enough to be on my Merrill Lynch platform at the time. So I couldn't even do business with them. Today they've got over $7.5 billion in assets under management. God's doing something. There's a company called Inspire, a Wells Fargo advisor in California, was on the board of his local pregnancy center. And he's looking at all the things he's investing in, and he discovers that the companies he's investing in for his clients are sending tons of money to Planned Parenthood. And there's a little conflict there. And he quit. He quit. And he started an exchange-traded fund company investing for his clients that does everything from a faith-based perspective. That's a company called Inspire. So you've got Eventide, you've got Inspire. We work with a company called 1Ascent. Figure that out. 1Ascent, right? And they do the same thing. It was the number 10 producer at Ameriprise. And Ameriprise said, we're not going to do this anymore. And he said, too bad, so sad. I'm taking all my clients. And he formed 1Ascent. And we work with them. So very well connected with all these kind of companies. And there are Christian values-based companies that you can invest with and be very successful. But look up Inspire, Eventide, 1Ascent.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
So
I hear crickets.
Yeah, no. Students, awesome. Thank you. These are great questions, great dialogue, great conversation. I am confident that you have a quiver full of stories, right? And use stories to inspire folks. At the end of the day, give us one, if you can, concise story of what you talk about. People who are generous are joyful, right? What brings you some of the greatest joy? When you come at the end of the day, give me a story about something that occurred in your life and in your work, in your ministry, that brought you incredible joy.
I can give you the one from yesterday that I told you, right? So I had a young advisor that worked for me for the last 4.5 years. Today is his last day, all right? He decided to leave the business because he's got a family manufacturing business that he's gonna go into, his family legacy business. We're very proud of him. He's gonna be successful at whatever he does, but he's developed great relationships with some of my clients. We have this client that we got, they came on board during COVID. They're from Brooklyn, but they're really from Barbados. And it's a lady that was a legal secretary in Brooklyn, and her husband was a city bus driver for 25 years. And they retired and they moved to Florida. I've never met these people face to face. I've seen them on Zoom, right? And they love us, and they have loved Eric, who worked for me, right? And knowing that today was his last day, we had a meeting with him yesterday on Zoom. I did that from Tom Walsh Diner up the road, right? That was a lot of fun. Big guys shouldn't go there. But this lady, she loves all of us, but she is a prayer warrior from Barbados, right? With a heavy accent. And I said, Ronnie, her name's Veronica, I said, Ronnie, would you mind closing us in prayer, all right, on this meeting? And I can tell you, that's what makes my day. That lady just lit it up, praying for Eric and his future, praying for the 2 new guys I just introduced her to on Zoom, praying for my health, I'm a cancer survivor, praying for Jan and me and my marriage, right? And the things that she's got going on in her life. Just wonderful, wonderful experiences. This lady just lit up the prayer, lit it up. And you go, wow, I wish I could pray like that. You know, so that's one story. Can I give you one other?
Yeah.
All right. We have a guy that came to us. He was actually a professor of finance and economics. I met him at a Kingdom Advisors Conference. He worked with Nyack College. And he was struggling with a family foundation that he was managing. We found a way for him to move the money out of the family foundation into a donor advised fund, which now the money's no longer his, but he still gets to control it. And we see this couple come in, they're very good friends of ours now. And they come in and they say, when are we gonna run out of this money that we're giving away hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to Christian camps? And my response has been, well, God has blessed the investments in this account so much that I'm gonna be working with your grandchildren if I'm still around, right? So we need to speed it up. And to see what they decided to buy a roof for their church in Connecticut, you know, that kind of stuff. The generosity, you see people light up. Generosity breaks the power of money over people's lives. It changes people when they're able to be generous. And when you're on the way to being generous, you know you got a plan and you can be more generous along the way. It changes people's hearts. And as Christians, what greater ministry could we have than helping people light up the world with Christ's love a little bit more? So that's my story.
Yeah, love it.
Right.
All right, so this is a token for the 2 of you. Thank you. On their own time, on their own dime, came and they wanted to invest in all of you. They will be, after chapel, we're headed over to chapel. After chapel, they're going to grab lunch and we'll be in the Lennox dining room. Anyone, come join us. Have additional dialogue with them. We'll be there probably till at least 1 o'clock. they want to invest in you, okay? So thank you, appreciate you,
Thanks, brother.
yeah,
Thanks.
and let's give them all a round of applause.